by far, income properties, rental properties are no question the best investment available. The problem is, or the thing that people miss, is that income property investing, the income property asset, if you will, is a multi-dimensional asset. It's not as simple as, buy low, sell high. Okay? There's a lot more to it than that. There's the mortgage and what happens to the mortgage in an inflationary or a deflationary environment. And we'll talk about that. That's sort of the good news at the end of the show. And then there's also the rental income it produces. There's the ability to borrow money now at what I call negative interest rates. What I mean by that, Ray, is that the true interest rate, the interest rate you pay on a mortgage, is lower than the rate of real inflation. And I know this is confusing. Maybe many viewers, we're here. What is it? November 20th, November 19th, right? 2008. And many people think we're experiencing deflation, and in some areas we are. But at the same time, we're experiencing significant monetary inflation. So we'll parse that up as we get through it here.
Deflation and inflation. Wow. Okay, we'll have to remember those two terms here as we move along.
The most important factors in anybody's financial life. So this is not economics speak. It's not for an economist. This is for real people. This is for Joe Plumber, okay? Joe the Plumber, all right? He got real famous. And this matters to all of us. It is very, very important because money is probably the most powerful force in the world. Okay, now, if you're a spiritual person listening, I'm not talking about that. That's not in the world. Okay, that's outside of the world, above the world. But money in the world, in our daily lives, this is the most powerful thing. Okay, and it is critically important that people understand what is happening to the value of their money.
Yeah, that's so important right now to focus on the importance of that and the value of that, because one of our questions here is from Jacqueline here in Los Angeles. She has been putting into her 401k, and she's seen her 401k drop thousands of dollars in the last few months. And her question to you, Jason.
Unfortunately, now it's a 201k.
201, yeah, or 101k, right?
Unfortunately, that's not funny, is it? Yeah.
At all, and she wants to ask you, should she keep contributing at the maximum rate, or what should she do?
Well, the benefits of any type of qualified retirement plan like that is that, of course, you get to deposit the money in that account as a pre-tax deposit. So it's not taxed, before you put it in. So, that makes it sort of a good deal. The problem is the investments in it are almost always in the hands of Wall Street criminals. Now, not that I have an opinion on this or anything, but I think Wall Street is really the new version of organized crime. Absolutely. It is the modern version of it. Okay, Al Capone looks like Mother Teresa compared to what goes on Wall Street nowadays. And we have something we call the 10 Commandments of Successful Investing. And commandment number 3, Ray, and people can find this on my website, jasonhartman.com, get this free CD that we have here that goes over this in depth. But just to tell you briefly, the 3rd commandment is thou shalt maintain control. And Jacqueline, depositing money in her 401k, is relinquishing control to somebody else, putting her future, her retirement, in the hands of some Wall Street executive, or multiple executives probably, some fund manager, some brokerage house, who can't even manage their own business and their own money. Like Merrill Lynch would be a great example. Did that fire sale to Bank of America just about a month ago. What are we doing investing with these companies when these companies can't even manage their own investments? Whether it be Morgan Stanley or Goldman Sachs or any of them. I mean, they all invested money in these criminal mortgage-backed securities and mortgage-backed bond investments, okay? And made huge mistakes. And many of them have gone out of business, or, they've received bailouts, taxpayer-funded bailouts that you and I paid for. Okay, so thou shalt maintain control. Let me just finish on that thought because it totally applies to her question. When you relinquish control of your money by not being what we call a direct investor, okay, we say be a direct investor. Buy your investment, control it yourself. All right? When you relinquish control and you're not a direct investor, you leave yourself susceptible to 3 major problems. Number 1 problem, you might be investing with a crook. So I don't have to explain the crookery on Wall Street, Enron, WorldCom, Global Crossing, and the countless other examples. Number two problem, assume they're honest. You might be invest with someone who's just incompetent, and through their sheer stupidity, they lose your money. That's bad. Assume they're honest, assume they're competent. Third problem, they take a huge management fee off the top. They skim the cream off the top to pay themselves and line their own pockets before returning, a modest return to the investor, if that. I mean, if I could have just in the last year on my stocks, Ray, earned 0%, I would be happy as a clam. All right, compared, it's a lot of people listening.
Yeah.
So, don't leave yourself susceptible. Don't relinquish control to somebody else. Be a direct investor. That's what we say.
They can find these commandments on your website, jasonhartman.com. Okay, wonderful.
Yeah, and they're explained in detail on the CD.
And they can get this CD free by requesting it from your website.
They just request it from our website, jasonhartman.com, and they can go there and they can either get a download link where they can just download the audio file, or it will be mailed to them if they want a physical copy.
Okay, wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, in case you've just joined us, we're talking to real estate expert Jason Hartman here on Bestselling Author Television. Now, we have a kind of a statement question here from Jack Payne from Australia.
All right. Down under.
Down under, right.
Shrimp on the Barbie and answer his question. Yeah.
A Foster's beer with that. How's that?
Good day, mate. I love Australia. Great place.
Have you been there before?
There, yeah.
I need to go. Just before going out of office in 1932, Jack Payne writes, Hoover signed a tax bill raising rates from 20% to 55%. Seems Obama wishes to become Herbert Hoover Jr. and do a repeat. Tax the living daylights out of wealth creation, change a severe recession into a full-blown depression. What do you say about that?
I think it is a terrible plan. I'm not an Obama fan, but I wasn't a McCain fan either. So, my problem is I'm just cynical and I don't like anybody. No, actually, I did like Ron Paul. And, unfortunately, he's way too honest to ever get elected. And, this two-party system we've got here doesn't leave many good choices in the U.S. But, the government has a giant problem. I call it the $60 trillion time bomb. That's trillion with a T, okay? And, as we hear these bailouts, we're hearing, Ray, these numbers that are insane, okay? Just everybody needs to remember that a billion is 1,000 million, and a trillion is 1,000 billion. Okay, this is a lot of money, all right? It's a lot of monopoly money, okay? Yeah, and so the government has this problem, and it is the entitlement problem. So Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, prescription drug benefits, the government is totally irresponsible in virtually every country on earth. So it probably applies, although I'm no expert on Australia, to any government, okay, who's printing fake money and spending like crazy, because politicians, the natural inclination is they all want to get elected. So to get elected, they promise people free stuff.
Right.
Right. And the Obama side of the aisle is worse than the McCain side of the aisle, but McCain was bad too. All right. They all do it. And so the way to solve this problem, the $60 trillion time bomb, is to either increase taxes, all right, or devalue the currency by creating more of it. See, when you increase taxes, it never works. It never has worked throughout history. There is no example anywhere on earth right now or throughout history that has really worked in any real way where you can have big government spending, and you can have a high standard of living over the long term at the same time. Okay, this has been proven over and over, and I don't see why people still try this, but, whatever. And so if Obama raises taxes, all it will do is suppress economic activity. And that happens in a couple of ways. Number one, it keeps people from taking risk. And businesses need to take risk. Entrepreneurs need to go out and do things, and they need to be rewarded for that risk. Now, many people listening might say, well, gee, Jason, isn't that what just happened and why we're having this meltdown? No, that's a little different. Okay, so it's not blatant ridiculous risk where you're passing the buck down the line, which is, the mortgage crisis that started this whole fiasco we're in. But the other thing businesses do and individuals do is they shop for a better tax nexus, so a better tax environment. So, certainly we saw this, right? In East Berlin, you had, communism, and they built the wall around the city.